Hello again, everybody. Harry Box with the Technical Trader. At detectrader.com, these are the charts of the day, and it's Tuesday, the 6th of October. Well, what I consider a good consolidation day. The market had an orderly retreat, came back at the end of the day, closed mixed. Blue chips were stronger than NASDAQ, that's for sure. But, and I think a lot of that had to do with the biotech index, which was down more than 3%. Although it did recover nicely. We had a nice trade at LABU today. Let's take a look at some of the stocks that, and metals, mining, gold, precious metals, oil, they dominate the presentation today because those stocks are really quite interesting, and I'll show you why. Let's start with Alcoa, which we talked about yesterday. Led off with that yesterday as well. The V-bottom, the platform, the breakout on big volume yesterday, if you thought that was good, 57 million today, up another 5.5%. Closing only a nickel off the high. So there is some resistance right in the zone. We may see it back off and fill. I'm going to be very interesting to see what the consolidation is and whether the pullback affords us a swing trade opportunity, because the moving averages are crossing over, the declining top line has been broken, and it looks like a right-handed extended V-bottom, which will create a new rising channel, and we may start to see an intermediate uptrend in play. I would love to see a pullback here to set us up for a better entry opportunity, but there's a possibility that if Alcoa blows to 11.1011 range here, we could get it up to 12.75. So let's just keep an eye on this one going forward. Up next is Autobytel, which I featured for 3 days in a row. Look at the way this broke out, followed through, as even mojoing more. Apparently that merger was very accretive. They did an accretive acquisition recently. And you can see that the long-term chart shows that it's now up against the highs from 9 years ago. And this could be going to new all-time high territory. A little extended short term, look for pullback consolidation, support around 20. If we get a pullback consolidation, the target would be 25. ACI, well, nice to see after that spike up and big pullback. It stalled, got very quiet in the last couple of days, and today popped on bigger volume, 5.4 million. 34% gain in 1 day today. There is resistance at 522. Today's high was 475, so maybe some additional upside. 522 and 569 are my targets going forward. Let's see if we can get a little bit of extension and a nice scalp tomorrow, perhaps. BCEI. Now I'm going to show you some oil stocks and some biotech stocks. But for the oil stocks, look, I have been negative on oil, thinking it's going into the mid-30s, maybe high 30s. But I had a change of thinking the last couple of days, not only because the charts are running, but because I'm hearing that production in Saudi Arabia will be curtailed. And if that's the case, you're going to start to see prices increase into the 50s and 60s, and oil may very well make a more important move here. Now, in the case of Bonanza Creek, obviously a stock that's come down from 30 down to 3 and change, a horrendous decline, and a 4.36 days to cover position. Now, there's a little bit of resistance up here and here. Let's change this to look a little bit more like that. So I'm thinking the two targets to watch going forward are 8 and 10. And we'll see if there's a thrust that carries us forward, or we get up in that zone and pull back. In either case, I expect the moving averages to roll over, cross over, and then maybe down the road get a better buying opportunity, perhaps some sort of head and shoulders bottoming pattern. But keep an eye on Bonanza Creek as well as many other oils that you'll be seeing today. BIS, well, I'm not sure the biotechs are done with a 1, 2, 3, 4-way move. We may very well see a little bit more upside and maybe even get one more market decline, pull back, retest, and get the biotechs to get smacked one more time for an outstanding opportunity to buy them towards the 50 area. Now, I don't know if that's going to take place. It may not get anywhere above 43, but the targets are 43, 48, and 50, 51 zone going forward if today's action proves to be a snapback and the beginning of another leg up. We'll have to just keep close tabs on it. CALA put out a swing trade on this today. Sonny brought it to our attention, and I do like the fact that it's come all the way down from 30 to 4 in multiple waves down, and looks like a base form. Now, look at the moving averages crossing over. We're above that. We're above the prior high. The next resistance level appears to be around almost 8, and that could happen the next day or so, as well as 8 3/4, the declining tops line. But it's more important that the short-term declining tops line was taken out, and volume is increasing. It's not huge, but you can see 4 days in a row higher. If we can hold the 6 1/4 range on any pullback, I'd be looking for an extension, as I said, up into those zones. Let's see what happens with this one. CANF, well, can't fight a swing trade. Finally, the Falling wedge on low volume popped a little bit. 14.75% is more than a little bit. It closed 15 cents off the high, up 53 cents on 3.3 million. There's 5.5 days short, but the key, for me, this key number is going to be 460. If we see a follow-through move that takes us up tomorrow or the day after through this level up here, I think we could very well see 5.75 and maybe even 7. So keep an eye on scan fight, as it could get interesting. CHK, yet another energy stock, and a good one. Chesapeake is a stock that's come way down from the mid-30s, and as recently as last year was trading at 31. Took it all the way down to 6. But in ensuing weeks, you'll see that left shoulder, head, right shoulder, kind of a pattern. Here's the neckline. Today jumped 56 cents or 6.6% on 24 million shares. And that's the biggest volume on an up day in about 2 weeks. If he can break through here, expected test of the declining top line to come in about the 10.5 area, and we get to that, and I think that the resistance zone right there around 11.75 would be tested. So 10.5, 11.75, and eventually maybe 14, depending on how strong the oil market becomes. Looks like a mini base. Technicals need to improve a little bit, but it's promising. ConocoPhillips, on the other hand, has already made the move. As Susie pointed out last week, the stock looked intriguing. I did like the spike down, spike up on even heavier volume, and then the pullback on low volume with a breakout after the moving averages cross over. Now, the ideal scenario is after running up through a couple layers of resistance and then running up for 6 days in a row, maybe we're going to see 7 and 8 days in a row, make it up to 60, but I would prefer some kind of pullback consolidation right in that zone for 3-4 days, set up a flag, and then have it run to 60 at that point. If we do that, I may very well get you a swing trade from like 53.4 all the way up to 60.61. But it's not enough for me to really post a swing trade. But for your longer term holders, this could be a significant bottom in COP. Another oil that I like is ECA, and I've liked it a lot of recent. Look how far this stock has dropped from the 36 range to 5 and change. Yes, it's a debacle in the oil group, isn't it? But if you take a look at the pattern of late, it looks like a V bottom followed by a right-handed extended V, almost like a higher W. We talk about it all the time. 6 days in a row up, 6 days of good volume. Today it broke out over the prior high, got up to the gap, and closed right there. Wouldn't shock me if we see our 8.75 or even 9.25 tomorrow. If we get that breakout, then look for a pullback entry opportunity. I do think major turnaround on this and many other stocks in the oil patch. FTK, well, it's not an oil stock. Oh yeah, it is. It's more oil and gas related. It's not oil producing per se, but it's oil services. Now, if you take a look at the way this thing dropped from the 33 range all the way down to 11, losing 2/3 of its value, after the breakaway gap, the spike low when the market got whacked, and then this big move up to new highs, followed by the pullback. A new trend line and channel has been formed with targets up in the mid-20s, and those are my targets going forward. I would like to see it get above 20 first. The 20 and 22 range are targets, followed by 23.25 and maybe 25 as an ultimate intermediate target. 1, 2, 3, and 4, the fifth wave has started, it appears. Well, how about Juno today? Up 373 or 8.5% in this market when biotechs were getting whacked. Yes, I know, but even in the morning when the market was, biotechs were down, this broke out and held all day. I'll give you a quick look at the 1 minute chart. Let's see how that ran and broke out. Give you a day trade on that one. That worked out very well. But the daily chart has me intrigued as the major declining channel in play for about 3 months now. It was broken, pulled back to retest, wedged, broke out. I'm looking for 54.5. Then I'm looking for 59.75, 60 up here, eventually. But let's see if it gives you a pullback entry out first. Matador is an interesting oil company because with most oils down near their lows, like CALA Petroleum, this one's up near the highs. When I like to see relative strength even in an oil patch, I'm going to take notice. Yes, there's resistance at 29, call it 30, and we may very well get there to test that. Should it get through 30, watch this. This represents a massive consolidation that could very well take the stock up into the mid-30s. My target, 36. That's 9 points from here. If it gets up to 30, you may see another 5 or 6 points. Keep an eye on this one. And I would love to see, after 5 or 6 days up, some kind of pullback consolidation here, which could lead to a good entry opportunity. Not at the moving averages are crossing over and moving up. OAS, maybe one of my favorites, and you can see why. Up 6 days in a row, huge move, from 820 to 1364, up about 75% in a very quick period of time. Now, there is resistance here from this last rally try up around 1405. I suspect we may test that tomorrow. We may even get as high as 15.5, which would be a short-term peak in my opinion. But momentum could carry this as high as 1748. That would be great. I missed my entry point on a pullback intraday. I wanted to see it closer to 12. And if we get a pullback in that 12 and a quarter zone, maybe that's an opportunity. The overall chart tells me we could get up to 18, where we were back earlier in the year. Another one is Stone Energy. This is a nice little head and shoulders reversal, left shoulder, head, right shoulder, and breakout. Resistance up around 9.5, then 11.5, maybe tested short term. But I like the overall structure of it. We have a declining top line that comes in around 11.5. And that would be my target going forward, but that's $3 from here. Well, let's look at silver. The silver Wheaton took a pop. It's now up 3 days in a row and moved through this little double top and closed above it on record. Well, the best volume since March of 10.5 million shares. It closed up 6.5% or 89 cents. Now, the declining top line probably comes in closer to, take a quick look at it here, and there's lows in that area, which means that I would be targeting something around 16.5, 17, and maybe even as high as 18. But first, I'd like to see if we get a follow through. Now, the USLV, which is the ETF for that, has not broken its declining top line. It's up into the resistance zone, and it's been up for 4 days in a row. I'd like to see that either break out and consolidate then, or pull back and consolidate and then break out. STO is another junior oil that I've liked for a while. It's one of my favorites for personal reasons, but I like the stock dropping from 31 down to 13.5 and then turning around. That's a weekly chart. Here's your daily. Notice the declining top line broken with abandon. It's now up 6 days in a row, increasing volume nearly every day. OBV moving up nicely. My immediate objective would be to test somewhere around 17.25 area, like through there. And then we'll see if we pull back and consolidate. If we break out and get up to 18, 19, my next target, we can then pull back and consolidate. So the hard part is to determine whether momentum is going to carry it through resistance or to it and pull back. We shall see, but I like this going forward. Trucks, man, what a move off the low on this one, from 4 to 7.5, nearly 75–80% quickly. With resistance at the 50-day, today's high was 769, and the 50-day move average is 766, so you can see why I may have backed off there. Let's consider that zone important resistance and see if we either get through it and then pull back, again, like in the case of some others, or pull back here and consolidate. I would like to see the pullback consolidation and then a move up towards 10, 11. So we got a lot of stocks that have turned around with volume, breaking moving averages, and in this case, the dramatic declining tops line in that area, or even the more accelerated declining tops line there. You can see how it broke both today and ran up to the moving average. One to keep your eye on, with almost 6 days to cover short. And by the way, a lot of these oils have decent short positions, some not. The UCO is the oil ETF that we've been watching, and today it popped a little bit. Let's take another look at this, clean it up a little bit for you so you can see it more readily. You can see that I was waiting for the 2-week consolidation resistance zone to be taken out, and then it actually closed above this high as well, so we may very well see a follow through tomorrow to get it up to test the 28 area. This could be interesting tomorrow. We'll keep an eye on that, particularly if oil continues to go. I think it will. So again, watching this one for scalp or day trade tomorrow for a couple points. In the same vein, the USO is moving up sharply and it's doing the same kind of thing. We'll watch this one. And the UNT, well, that one had a big move today. This is 3 days in a row, moving from 11 to 19. How about that for a move? Spectacular move with big volume of 4.4 million. The 5.26 days to cover short, I'm sure, had something to do with it. Here's your major declining tops line, and here's your lateral resistance. So what does it tell you? It tells me there's more to go, potentially, as high as 24.5, 3/4, something like that. This could be interesting going forward. It's got a lot of energy. And that's UNT. Looking at UWTI, the third ETF for the oil group. That broke out today. I wouldn't be shocked to see this get to 15. 15 is my target going forward on this, as there's bottoms and tops in that area. It closed above the moving averages and broke out of this falling wedge. With good volume of 29 million, I suspect we're going to see higher levels. And lastly is WLL, another junior oil that I like the way it's acted as it broke out of the wedge, broke through the declining 50, broke through lateral double top resistance. That's a good sign. My move and my target, Ollie, if you're listening, 23.85 roughly, would be resistance on my next target. If we can get that move tomorrow, that would be a nice day trade. Folks, a lot of interesting stuff going on. I am not as bearish as I was before. I'm actually much more optimistic, but we shall see. HB